So what I'd like to do is just talk through some of the experiences that we've had in John Lewis over the last few years. So as Walter said, I'm involved with the distribution centres, which used to be just distribution centres, and over the last few years have become increasingly fulfillment centres as well as distribution. So this is well before I started, but this was John Lewis when we first kicked off. So as an organisation, we're about 153 years old. When I first joined almost 10 years ago, we had 25 shops or branches, and online, our fulfillment, our e-commerce, wasn't that significant. At the time, back in 2008, the thought was that maybe one day our online sales might be able to match one of our shops, one of our selling branches, because it was never thought that it would grow in the way that it has grown. In 2001, John Lewis entered online e-fulfillment, e-commerce, by acquiring Buy.com. So as you can see, this was February 2001. It was less than a year after the dot-com bubble burst. And that's one of the advantages of the organizational structure of John Lewis, is we don't necessarily have to answer to the city every Friday morning, because our shareholders really are ourselves. As partners, we own the business. So we can make decisions like this, which at the time looked particularly strange. One of the unique features within John Lewis is, because we are co-owned, we have weekly journals. We have one for a function, so we'd have one for the entire distribution function, and we have one across Waitrose and John Lewis. And all the partners can write in, as long as it's not particularly abusive, and that's a relative concept. As long as it's not particularly abusive, then we can write in, because we co-own the business. And there were months and months of letters, usually anonymous, because that's one of the things you can do, saying, why on earth, when the dot-com bubble has burst less than 12 months ago, are we spending the partners' money on Buy.com to enter into e-commerce? What an outrageous thing to do. In 2008, when I joined, we were looking at probably about 30,000 products online. We were looking at maybe £200 million worth of sales. Now we're looking at about 350,000 products online, and we're getting close towards 2 billion. So all those letters were flawed. We've exceeded all the branches that we thought we would we maybe match. And what we're looking at, our managing director last week formally and publicly said we expect around 50% of our sales to come online by 2020. If I'm going to disagree with it, I think it might be 2019. That's the strength of our online growth. And what we like to say in the supply chain is a lot of that has been generated by what we're doing physically. First of all, by providing that wider range, that greater availability. And secondly, through convenience, establishing a fairly extensive click and collect network, which has been the driver to our sales. So this is the percentage of our sales that have been made online. So back in 2008, 10%. Last year, 38%. Even when we developed our strategic network plan back in 2011-12, we predicted that the penetration of our online sales would be 38% by 2020. So one thing we can guarantee, that every forecast we've had for online sales, we've beat. So that's quite a considerable growth, and it has massive impact on our supply chain. When we were just just replenishing our shops had big stock rooms, so we could pump the stuff in there weeks before Christmas. So when it got to about December the 20th, it was time to chill out. Shops were full, over to you guys in the shops to do some big selling. Pump a bit more in for clearance, have a relax. It was nice. But online, you can't pump the customers full of demand on an allocation basis. They, unfortunately, and I have to say, somewhat disrespectfully, don't do that. They tend to all order around about the same time, at various spikes, as we will see later. So we've always had Christmas. I haven't got any of the videos, because obviously we'd have had to provide some tissues for people weeping as they saw our traditional Christmas ads. So we've got top left, obviously, 2016, Buster. Top right, last year's in 2015. I wasn't as impressed with that, Man in the Moon. Bottom left, then Monty the Penguin, regionally successful, and then the Bear and the Hare. So the last four, we've always done Christmas. Christmas has been something we've planned. But Christmas, the festive period, has never been as significant, as scary, and as exhilarating as it has been for the last 3 or 4 years. Several reasons for that. As we saw in the other graph, our sales online have continued to outperform our forecast. We've always had the Christmas advert. One example of not actually knowing what the customers were going to be doing is that our Christmas advert in 2016 was released on social media on a Thursday morning, and we weren't actually expecting that. And at the time, there was a mass test planned so we could have a bit of practice ready for peak. The advert was not leaked, it was a formal release on social media, and we sold over 8,000 Busters in a few hours, something that we didn't have any idea that was going to happen. Black Friday hit us in 2014. So in 2013, we were aware of Black Friday. We were aware of introducing something from the USA, for which we will always, always be eternally grateful. And what Black Friday has done is has focused sales, focused our demand into sharper spikes, sharper peaks. So events are far more significant. Previously, we thought the festive period was a gradual event, building up to the week before Christmas, and then our clearance or our sale period. What Black Friday's done is put an artificial spike in before Christmas. That is spikier than anything else we have seen. So 2013, we were aware of it. We saw some tablet products from another North American brand come through. But 2014 was really an OMG moment. We didn't use those 3 letters. There were another 3 letters that we actually used because of the significant uplift in 2014's Black Friday. We didn't have a forecast. The forecast we actually had was more qualitative, I would suggest. So our electricals team, we asked them, we said, what are we expecting for Black Friday? And they came back with a very coherent and granular, it could be big, it could be bigger, but it could be massive. So clearly we took that away and we did our resource planning. We had a forecast from our merchandising team, and the most aspirational was a 48% uplift on the previous year. Oh, we laughed. 40. It was well over 60. It was unforeseen, and it just hit us. One of the key challenges we have, and I've shown examples of some of our adverts. This is a real commercial now. One of the challenges for us, obviously, is we price match, so we're never knowingly undersold. It's worth checking out if you haven't already. So when other bricks and clicks retailers will reduce a price on maybe a tablet or a wireless speaker for Black Friday, we have to price match it. So planning for that is particularly difficult because clearly our competitors don't really wish to share some of their promotional information. So we have a team that work right through the night on Black Friday, looking at the competition and what they're doing in terms of prices so we can price match. Then we get other spikes. So for Black Friday 2016, what we saw was Sonos speakers. We sold other brands are available, but thousands and thousands and thousands of wireless speakers just pumping through because the deal was very, very good. So Black Friday's been the biggest for us. The change bit is, I mentioned that back in 11-12, we did a long-term network plan, which took us through to 2020, allegedly. And 2016 was the year when we closed several facilities, some of our smaller, compact bijou facilities, and pumped everything into larger, consolidated, as far as we possibly can, automated sites. And a lot of that change occurred in 2016. So peak 2016 was the first time we tested a lot of these facilities, a lot of this kit, and a lot of the software. So peak 2016, we planned the living daylights out of it. But Black Friday, As I said, it comes towards the end of November. There is a lot of uncertainty. But what we do is we will plan Black Friday throughout the year because it's the spikiest spike that we have ever seen. So previously, we would have our trough, our lowest day, up to our peak day was a factor of 6. The factor now is about 10 or 11, and we have to climb that. We have to get over that spike because that's the demand that comes in, because our customers, all UK customers, increasingly are looking for bargains. So Black Friday is the day for which we plan. We start planning for Black Friday on Black Friday the year before, because we're there and we can see it and go, what would we do different had we known this? And then we work for a few months. We have almost a 9+3 model. 9 months of the year, we plan obsessively, and then 3 months of the year, we deliver. That's the spike that we saw in 2015-16. So you can see from February, start of February, our financial year, bit in the middle, which is our summer clearance. That's coming along soon. Keep your eye out. That's the second commercial. And then we build up, and that huge, ridiculous spike, that is Black Friday. We can see the drop-off in demand for Christmas Day, and then our clearance kicks in. So we have to get across that spike. As you can imagine, what we can't do is bring in all that additional resource just before, because we need people trained and equipped. So there's lots and lots of things that we have to do. So in most of our facilities, we have seasonal hours. So all the partners will have an extra week off earlier in the year, maybe September or August, and they'll pay that back as a 6th day right the way through peak. And then we have a lot of agency that come in, and we work really closely with 3 agency providers. And what they'll do is they'll provide us with the numbers. As it gets closer to Black Friday, we really got to watch that one. We really got to watch that one. And then we have to rely on partners getting stuck in. The great thing is that Black Friday, for us, is our exam question. That's the bit where it's almost a case of, well, you can probably manage from February through to October. Not with your eyes shut, but maybe blinking. When it gets to Black Friday, if you're a supply chain professional, that's what you live for. It is exciting and exhilarating and frightening. So our partners actually love the buzz of it and really want to deliver. This is one of the challenges we get. If we have a look at the green, last year in 15, the server went down for about a quarter of an hour. And it was just an amalgamation of demand. But you can see that the blue line, which is 2016, we're growing year on year. The interesting bit is Black Friday kicks in at midnight. And we've got lots and lots of customers who are there at midnight ready to take advantage of the bargains. One of the challenges we have is that we only have a finite capacity. So if we can run at, say, 15,000, 20,000 units per hour across a couple of sites, if we don't run at that capacity for 4 or 5 hours, we can't claw that capacity back. It's finite. Therefore, here, you could argue this is wasted capacity. So as a result of that, what we try to do is maybe go a little bit early on the Thursday with some of the deals that John Lewis do. The problem is then, is if the following morning some of the competitors go with a lower price, then customers will buy the product for the second time and send the first one back. So it's quite a challenge managing that capacity. So what's increasingly happening is Black 5 Day. So the 3 bars on the histogram show 14, 15, and 16. So you can see in 16, so if you have a look at Black Friday itself, you can see in 16, you can see the growth year on year. If we had a look at 13 to 14, you'd see quite a jump as Black Friday became popular. But you can see that the following week, there's still heavy demand. Because what we're finding is a lot of the retailers, especially the department stores, will go extravaganza the week before Black Friday. Because it's the last week of November, it's the last payday before Christmas. Everyone's looking for a bargain because there's Black Friday frenzy. If you remember, there used to be riots in Asda and other retailers, other grocers, for those televisions. We didn't have any riots, although there were reports of tutting in some of our department stores. But what there is, that week before Black Friday, there's a real clamour for bargains. So So one or two of the retailers will go a few days before Black Friday, and a lot of them will go the week after Black Friday. And we can see the increase in demand in the days following Black Friday. That can only be a good thing. Anything that reduces that spike and takes the factor of 10 to 11 down to maybe 8 or 9 means that we can use the capacity we've got on one day, spread it over several days. So that is a positive for us. We had 3 peaks to look at in 2015, and this was because when Christmas Day fell. So if you have a look at the red in terms of Christmas 2016, because Christmas fell at the end of the week, that final week, a lot of people went for. They kept their purchasing back until the last week. And what we do find is more and more and more in that week will move on to premium proposition or next day. So because of the overwhelming success of click and collect, that's been the key driver to our sales over the last 5 or 6 years online, because people love the convenience of click and collect. So quite often there's all this talk about speed and velocity, and if you really want, you can book it, you can buy something and book a delivery for this evening. So when you get home, you have that pleasure of finding a card on your mat to say someone called about 6:30 just before you got in for your urgent delivery, and then you can pick it up on the weekend in a warehouse on the outskirts of town. Click and collect provides you with the reliability and the convenience of picking that up the following day or the day after, whenever you want to, when you're doing your shopping. What that means is that during Christmas week, virtually all of our orders were next day. So we don't know what we're going to be doing today, because about 70% of our online demand is for tomorrow. If it was 100% standard orders, and we may have 2 or 3 days, we could roll some of that demand, but we have to clear this today. So when we say we don't know what we're doing today, it's only partly down to ineptitude, and a lot of it is down to next day demand coming in this afternoon and this evening. Pig bestsellers, Buster. Should have really crossed the label off, but it was the Sonos speakers. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Sonos speakers. And that's a hairdryer. That's a Dyson hairdryer. And the color isn't purple, it's, I think it's fuchsia. But those, we knocked a load of those out at quite a price. And if you got that from your partner, that means he or she really didn't think about the present for you. Because that really was, those went out the last few days before Christmas. So we shipped a lot of units on Black Friday. The peak packing day was Cyber Monday. And that is because we've got a lot of pent-up demand on Monday, a lot of pent-up demand. So we don't have that midnight till 7 a.m. gap that we saw earlier on Black Friday. So it's just pump the volume out. And then online, clearance, Christmas Eve, 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock, clearance goes online 5, and that just, the demand comes flying in. And we get demand all through Christmas Day as well. We have to have a conference call Christmas Day afternoon, usually about 3 o'clock. Queen doesn't join in because she's providing a speech at that moment. But what we then do is have a look at what our pent-up demand is ready for Boxing Day fulfillment. What we've had to do is invest considerably. This is, the Canap stall is just outside. I did promise a small advertette. The Canap site, so we got the Durkop hanging and a lot of investment we've had. But clearly what we can't do is just rely on investment for Black Friday. So there's lots of other kit there that's more manual, that's mothballed the rest of the year, and we use this kit 52 weeks. But we still have to be extremely flexible with what we do. We have to adopt an operational alignment, and that is about making sure the whole business is involved. So we lead this team, and this team basically has a premise that says, if in distribution we can cope with 500,000 units, there's no point the carrier team only being able to cope with 250,000 units. There's no point the online team having transactions per second that are less than 500,000 units. There's no point, all of these sorts of things. So we have a full end-to-end approach, and it's called OPAL, Operational Alignment. First thing to do is make sure we've got a pipeline that's relatively consistent. Because there's no point everyone taking huge volumes and then it's stopping somewhere halfway through. The improved intelligence bit is about flagging precisely where we think the spikes are going to come, by product, by fulfillment center, because our network's based on product handling characteristics. Understanding price elasticity. If it's an electrical product, particularly a tablet, a 10% reduction will have a much bigger impact than other products. Men's shoes are quite price elastic, unbelievable. There's lots and lots. Premium beauty, or as we would call it in my era, cosmetics. You know, a slight reduction in price, massive impact in terms of demand. So we now understand that. We are obsessively analytical, whereas in the past, we were reasonably intuitive. And there's a fundamental difference in those two sort of philosophies. We have to make sure we've got the right products across the distribution centres to avoid spikes and bottlenecks, and also within the distribution centres, particularly anywhere that's semi-automated. We need to have the product in the right place so we can turn it on when necessary. And as far as we possibly can, we need to understand which products are ordered with other products. So we're preventing 2 or 3 or 4 parcels going as part of an order. And that is what we do for 9 months of the year. It's about operational alignment, the intelligence, the understanding, the what-ifs and the contingency. It's working with our agencies and our people to make sure we got the flexibility. It's about testing our automation. It's about understanding what the competition are going to do. But basically, when we get to Black Friday, all of our plans are in place. It's then in-flight management, a little bit of hope, a hell of a lot of praying, and so far, we've succeeded. What we do, if we're under real pressure, is we will bring the cut-off time forward, because there's absolute evidence from our customers that they'll carry on ordering whatever the cut-off time is. So instead of guaranteeing delivery tomorrow, we guarantee delivery on the Sunday for Black Friday. Because the customers are after a bargain rather than immediately, we see no let-up in demand. So in 2014, when we had the OMG Black Friday, we cut off at 4 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. 2015, we cut off at 6 p.m. And last year, we cut off at 7 p.m. because we had some capacity issues in some of our Waitrose branches. So the objective is plan the living daylights out of everything, have the flexibility of our partners, but it's always on our mind. You know, we wake up in the morning and we think, only 232 days to go to Black Friday. So there's something that's always in front of us, something we will be internally grateful for our American friends for introducing it. But when it comes, by God, it's exciting. Thank you very much.
We've got a couple of minutes left, I think, in our time. So if there's anybody who would like to ask a question, if you put your hand up, a microphone will be brought to you. That's early in the morning. There's one here. Thank you. If you just say who you are so that the speaker knows who they're addressing.
My name's Sarah. I'm from Festive, which is a Cornish brand, surfwear. So I've come a long way. I'm really interested in what you've had to say. I'm interested in understanding the difference between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which obviously goes over that weekend, and also the change in, you said there's a big growth, 60% growth in your Black Friday year on year. Did you see that within both your retail channel and your online channel?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think the Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing, Cyber Monday was always our biggest day for demand online. So Cyber Monday was something that maybe some retailers started and the media picked up on. The media love a name. So it's Returns Tuesday and Hangover Wednesday, whatever it might well be. So Cyber Monday was the big one, again, because it's just after the last payday, before Christmas, and a lot of the retailers were putting sales on. But Black Friday overtook Cyber Monday, but Black Friday, when it started, was mostly for electricals. So what tended to happen initially was we have the electricals on Black Friday and then followed by the fashion the following week. And Black Friday has sort of melded all of those. So it's basically a promotional period now from the Wednesday or Thursday the week before to the Wednesday after. In 2014, to go back to your second part of your question, we saw a much greater increase in sales in shops as well. But in 2015 and 16, we didn't. Now, part of that was because the media loved showing all the activities and the people fighting over televisions in certain grocers. So in 2014, we were expecting the BBC to come and do a film on Black Monday, but they had the phone call going, there's a riot kicking off, go and film that instead, which is slightly more visual, maybe, than a warehouse. So I think some people were put off in 15, 16, but on a more positive note, what we've seen is a huge move as well towards people browsing and ordering using their mobiles. So in the past, when Black Friday was first kicking off, we saw a bit of a spike when people got to work, about 9-ish, and started shopping on their desktop before they did any work. We never reported anybody. So they do their shopping on the desktop, whereas now your phone wakes you up, and a lot of real professional shoppers will go on and buy something immediately. So what we also saw was the ability now to browse online, to shop online, to do all sorts of stuff online with your smartphone. That's changed things as well. We know there's still a significant proportion of transactions that involve a shop, because click and collect, as I said, has been our key driver of online sales, and that involves picking it up in the shop. And we know a lot of customers will buy something else to match, or an accessory when they're picking something up in shop. Some of our customers will go and test it out in shop, or try it on in shop, or have a look at the colors in shops, and then order it online. So it's less impactful Black Friday now in the shops over the last 2 years, but I think it'll come back over the next few years as people want to test and try things.
Okay, I think we have 1 more minute left, so is there anybody else who would like to ask a question? In that case, it's just down to me to thank Teddy for his most interesting presentation and to ask you to give a round of applause in token. Thank you.